help. We did that for them. They're going to double the size of their plant, double the size of their workforce, because they came to Lucas County. They came to an economic development that we already had, led by Matt Hireman. And because of that, they're at our chambers the other day saying, thank you, county commissioners, for a 100-year-old company for staying here and we're expanding. That's the kind of wins we get.
Moving on to one of the most talked about themes that we received at WTOL. The Lucas County Jail project is on pause for now until next year. Commissioner Gergen, you have been quoted as saying you set an initial goal of $220 million. It ballooned to $290 million. Interest rates you said were too high. You said you've gone back to engineers and architects, which is costing the county. And the sheriff has said that he and his staff are frustrated with the outdated and expensive jail. What should voters take from the management of this project under your leadership? Your opponent has said, quote, the jail now has become the brand of incompetence of the commissioners, end quote.
And that's a great catchphrase, I think, to do it. But let's understand that jails are the toughest thing to build in the community. Every county in this state, from Republican, small, Democratic, large, is struggling with jail funding. We've been underfunded by the state. In fact, the real root cause of our jail problem funding goes back when Tom was on the city council. And the city, on 1 week's notice, we started with only $15 million of jail contract that they had. That was behind the whole still catching up from. It would be irresponsible for me or my board of Benita and Lisa to go ahead and spend $290 million when we budgeted $220. It would be irresponsible to go ahead at the highest interest rates that the government has ever had to borrow money at and take our biggest expense and buy it at that rate when 2 or 3 things can happen. Interest rates are coming down. We're prepared. We have a site. We have a plan. And architects and engineers sometimes over-engineer things. When we got that report, I looked at those people and said, you guys probably want to get fired. We're not spending any more money. They are under contract to deliver this. For them going back and re-engineering and value engineering isn't costing us anymore. They're under contract at a fixed cost and delivers what we need. They're in the process of doing that. Interest rates are coming down. And there's a third level of this. I need some help from the sheriff. He's frustrated and so am I. If this jail is going to work, the sheriff has to lower his operating costs going into that building, and that's always been a premise. The sheriff says he has to come up with $7 or $8 million left to do that. The sheriff has not yet given us a plan that we can actually plug in to the numbers. I know he's working on it, but it needs to be on cost of injuries comes down. We take money out of the jail, and the sheriff gives us a workable plan to do the cost savings. We have the site, we have the engineering, we have the work plan. We'll be ready to go when it's responsible for us to go ahead.
Mr. Winooski.
The interest rates were 3% just a couple of years ago. The real reason is we're getting these things done modularly down south. And the building trades union called you on that, and they wanted it to be done here. So that has been the delay. I also want to correct what you said about the city of Toledo, the jail. The county finally paid their legally bound payments on jail bills. And thank goodness to Blake Mike Collins, who spotted that and said, wait a minute, the county's supposed to pay us X number of dollars for X number of beds, and that's what happened. The reason that the jail is what it is, which is not good, is because of poor planning. You tried to put it in the South Toledo neighborhood, and they didn't like that. You tried to put it in the North Toledo neighborhood, and they didn't like it. If you would have talked to the neighbors initially and get their feeling, you would have mitigated those complaints and put it where it planning would go, which is downtown. Now, the downtown doesn't have neighborhoods, don't get me wrong, but the jail is already there. Why upset the applicant? That poor planning is the reason we're $100 million over budget.
You got 30 seconds.
I was correct about one thing, and that's his disrespect for the men and women who work in this community and how to build this jail. We are partners with the Northwest Ohio Building Trades. They built all our projects. They build them on time. They build them with great quality, and they build them with local workforces that pay taxes. The fact that we were going to build them here, we worked out with our jail consultants. It wasn't going to cost us very much more to build those things here. And I'm not going to take Lucas County tax dollars, send them down south, where they don't pay living wage, where they don't have working conditions that are fair, and leave our men and women from Ohio Buildings, Northwest Ohio Building Trades, sitting on the bench on the biggest county project we're going to do. They deserve the work. It doesn't cost that much more. They pay the taxes. They go to the restaurants, and they vote for the levies. And I'm a little taken aback at the disrespect for those people.
You mentioned you by name, 15 seconds.
Yeah, I don't mean to disrespect. It's what the building trades told me.
Moving on, Mr. Winooski, in October of 2017, Toledo City Council approved a resolution urging the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to designate the western basin of Lake Erie as impaired. Council voted 11-1 in favor of the resolution. You were the lone no vote. You said you didn't think Lake Erie was impaired, more like it was bruised. Given the last 7 years, do you still feel that way? And if you are elected, what would you do differently to protect our waterways?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer the second question. In hindsight, being always 2020 in 7 years, I've already proposed in my plan to go to the state, especially as it relates to the local government fund, and use that money to help further along what we can do to mitigate the algal blooms, because the algae has not subsided as much as we would all have liked. But what I'm really proud of the fact is that while I was on council, we recognized the EPA mandated plan to clean up the water, and here's how they wanted to do it. We had 32 discharges in the Maumee and on the river. So when it was raining in the morning and you're getting ready for work, so you're in the shower and flushing the toilet, it overloaded the system, and the excess sewage was being dumped into the Maumee and on the rivers. So the EPA said you have to stop that. And I was all for that, not only all for that, but worked with our Director of Public Utilities, Ed Warren, Henry, who was the engineer at the time, and said, how can we spread this over a certain amount of time so that our residents aren't overly impacted by any mandates? And so they did that, added another couple bucks to the water bill, stretched it out over 15 years. And I'm proud to say that we now went from 32 discharges in the Maumee and the Ottawa River down to 2. That is helpful, and that's because of the leadership that I showed on council to get the money going in the right direction for what I could do on a city council meeting.
Commissioner Gergen.
I don't even know where to start with that, but let me start with this. We do need local government funds back, and the party that he represents is taking them from us since 2010, and we struggle every year to get some back. That doesn't happen. We don't need to spend local money out here in Upper Lake Erie. We need the state, we need the EPA, and we need the Ohio Department of Agriculture to stop the pollution 50 and 60 miles upstream from here. There are mega farms in Beeville now, there are mega farms putting manure, and this is a new thing. I think Ohio farmers on an HCO program really tried to mitigate a complicated problem. But what's made it worse, and it's not getting any better, actors came in from Indiana after Indiana said we're not going to have that kind of pollution going to our waterways. They quickly migrated 50 miles into our state because it's unregulated. Our biggest problem is not the city of Toledo's discharges. That's not, we've been cleaning that up since I was in council on 2000. Our biggest problem is the concentrated feeding organizations out there that continue to not be managed by the state or the Republican Party, that are dumping manure into our lake that makes the problem. We don't need to pay for it. They need to fix their problem, and we need to take help from the states to do that.
30 seconds.
I think that's what I said. I'm looking to bring state money here, and I think with my connections down in Columbus, same party, use that as an advantage, try to get that money here.
Commissioner Gergen, according to the county website, there are 34 departments under the county umbrella. All of them rely on oversight, leadership, and financial support. I want you to provide voters with the one department or branch of the county that is the strongest at what it does and is most important to the county, and conversely, the one that is the weakest and could either be revamped or removed, and provide voters with your why you say that is.
Let's start with the strongest first. That's pretty easy to do. We have a great sanitary engineer. His name is Jim Shaw. He's been with us for almost 30 years. He leads the way in management of wastewater and water products. We serve the county. We serve the areas of counties that on wastewater that the city of Toledo doesn't. We created a system. It's a strong system. As people need to use that system, they buy into it almost like a condo. So they get paid as part of that plan, while we pay as part of that plan. The county commissioners pay for part of that plan. That thing operates at a high level with a model of the state. And let me tell you the sense of how a sanitary system is important to economic development. When people come here to site businesses or expand plants, the first thing they ask for, do you have water and do you have sewer? And they are going to places outside the city of Toledo because there's more land out there. They come here because is they look at our treatment plant and our water and sewer systems, it's well designed and well prepared, and that's an economic benefit. We've got people here because we have a system. What's the weakest link? I think everybody can try to do better. We are continuous improvement in job and family services. You're going to see continuous improvement in canine care and control. We have a strong O&B plan, and if you let's not parse this out into winners and losers. Overall, we have a strong budget, we maintain our budget, we pay our workers, we have a great credit rating, and we put money in the bank.
Mr. Winooski.
Yeah, I would just say that I agree with Pete in the sense that I think we have some pretty good workers. I think.
Can I stop you for just 1 second? You did not answer the weakest.
I think, I'm not sure I have a weakness, they can all use improvement. I think canine care control's been in the news a lot, and we're making some personnel changes there. We've acted quickly. That's probably the one that's underperforming right now, I'll give you that. But we have a plan in place, we're improving it every day, and we're moving into a new facility that should make it a stellar county.
Mr. Winooski, continue, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I think, a couple of things, but to continue the thought of, I think we do have some very good county employees. Matt Hartman and Mike Hart can't do all of the leadership stuff, especially those guys, I think, a little thinly, and they're quality people. But I look at this a little differently from how you asked the question. I think our county, which is made up of 22 different jurisdictions, from as small as Swanton Township to as large as Maumee and Spring, I think they need to be more engaged in county operations. So it's not necessarily one department that needs bolstering or doesn't need bolstering. But I want to bring the other 22. I want to bring the other 22 municipalities, villages, townships, to have a better say in how the county is operated.
Would you name a weakest branch of the county?
I don't think I would, Jeff.
That must mean we're all doing okay.
Commissioners. That's the department that I would revamp.
Mr. Winooski, term limits in Toledo have come up for discussion lately and will be on the ballot in November. I'm not asking either of you to comment on whether the Toledo mayoral term should be extended. My question for you, you've both been in politics for a long time, one of you longer than the other, and one of you has run for council, for mayor, and now Lucas County Commissioner, as we pointed out. What do you say to voters who say same old names, same old party politics?
I totally agree. I don't consider 12 years as being a career politician, Jeff, with all due respect. So I plan to serve out my term, and if the good Lord sees it that I should run for a second term, I will. But I'm not going to wait 20 years to get something accomplished. I'm not going to even wait 4 years. I want to get stuff done. So I don't look at myself as a career politician. My history has shown that I'm not. And as it relates to the extending the term limits for the mayor, I serve on the mayor's charter review committee. We are split as to whether that should be on the ballot or not, and I'll just let voters decide.
Commissioner?
Well, let me say this about that. I think if there weren't term limits for Tom, he'd probably still be in government now. Right? And maybe he'd continue to be elected to his district. So, but there were, and there's not in the county commission. He wants to talk about getting things done. We've done that in Lucas County. Take a look downtown since 2005. What do you see? A county's downtown that is vibrant, that has created jobs. We paid off the debt on the Fifth Third Field 13 years early, maintained it to the highest standard of minor league baseball parks in the nation. We've created a Huntington Center in that town that is a jewel of downtown. We made our downtown 365-day a year downtown. We've done that. All I now have a fantastic home and are the pride of our community. We just revamped our convention center because in 2020, the business community came to us in the 22nd Century Committee and said, Commissioners, you need to revamp your convention center for economic development downtown. We did that, and we added a cash hotel to do it. We've done the data point that you see here in Oakland Parkway. That's my old home. I worked on that plan, on that site for 30 years. When they left to go to the new plan, it used to be a pile of rubble. Well, partnered with the Port Authority, we partnered with the state, and it's now full. The data plant that you see supplying access to the key plant is a direct involvement of the Lucas County Commissioner's stuff, economic development dollars in that plant to hire high-paid jobs, to give our citizens a chance to work in an office in the night. So we haven't been sitting around for 20 years. I can go on and on. We're about to build the Burr. We got downtown. We have built things at the airport. I was at the airport with a private sector investment. I'll say this. I'm unique in this. I have both endorsed the building trades, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Blade. That's a pretty good combination of partnerships.
Mr. Winooski, you brought you up 30 seconds.
Yeah, a couple of things. Please don't say that I would be still in politics. You don't know what goes on there. Please don't say that again. Secondly, the MRF. I was on city council and thought the MRF would be built, and it wasn't. It was being delayed and delayed and delayed. The MRF is for multi-stream recycling facility. Thirdly, when you say we paid off Fifth Third Field, that's all run by taxpayers. So it was the taxpayers that, in essence, like showing up at the Fifth Third Field, they paid off all of that. So I give credit to them. When I'm elected, I'm going to talk to Joe Napoli and see if we can give a couple of free mud hen games to all Lucas County taxpayers.
I want to talk about 15 seconds. You brought that up. The reason we brought Murphy, I think somebody was vote or something system. We couldn't get that done for years because when Tom was on the city council in Baker Collins, they would not sign the documents that guaranteed the city's stream of recyclables to the county. We had to wait 4 years for that to happen. They can't have a Murphy in the city of Toledo. It's not going to guarantee they're going to bring their recyclables to it. They wouldn't do that for years. Finally, when there was a change of leadership, they got that started. So a lot of our delay was because the mayor and city council wouldn't act the way they did it. They're there now. I'm looking forward. This is going to be economic development. But you got to have partnerships to do it. We're lacking partnership with he is on city council. We have that.
We're going to move on to some of our audience questions this evening. And Commissioner Durkin, one of our audience members wants to know, how would you improve job and family services? We go back to some of our branches of Lucas County to decrease processing time and customer service.
That's a great question. We are continual improvement process in job and family services. One of the things we did years ago to streamline county services, we moved everybody into one campus. At one point, job and family services was a place on North Street. Child Support Bureau was a mile down the road. So if I needed service, here's a good example. If I needed services from JFS, they'd look at me and say, well, you got to go talk to child support because you need some help with that. You have to get right with them before you can give the services here. So we would have to go a mile down the road to child support. Then on the way back, we had our workforce development at where the K9 Care Control Building is now. We were shuffling people up and down Grove Street unnecessarily. We took a building in the district that you used to represent. It was dark, and we put light back in. Now you go to one stop, you can get your services, you can get your child support, you can get your economic development, job training, all in one place. We had just received an award from the state of Ohio over a month ago of an improved customer service benefits response in the state of Ohio. That didn't come from us. That came from the state. We had long wait times during COVID. We did, I'll give you that. We didn't tolerate that when people got back to work and society started functioning. Our wait times are less, and now when you call in, you can go to the state in place line and they'll call you back when it's your turn. Our improvements were recognized by the state. Our consolidation of services has made it much more friendly for customers.
Mr. Winooski?
I want to look at all of the boards that we have, Job and Family Services Board, Workforce Development Board, Homelessness Board, Mental Health Board, make sure that customer service is I pride myself on customer service, particularly because I have spent so much time in the private sector dealing with customers. And I always have to remind a lot of these career politicians that we work for the taxpayers. So that's the only thing that I could address on that, Jeff. If I've got another 30 seconds, I'd like to address this work comment. You said you couldn't move anything while I was on council. The council and the mayor were all the Democrats, except for the 2 years Mike Collins was on. So why it wasn't moving, that's something you'll have to ask them.
Commissioner Durkin, we had a second question about Job and Family Services, and this audience member says staffing is the issue. You just brought up time has been cut in half. How can those be congruent?
Because we are always hiring. We have Mickey and Commissioner Lisa Sebecki is here, who used to work there as a worker. She's given us great knowledge on how to retain and how to recruit inputs. Look, it's tough work. You have people on the other end of their monetary crisis to have needs. They're pretty anxious, right? The worker has to deal with state and federal regulations, not county regulations, and kind of weave those things together to get the people the benefits they want. It takes a committed workforce to do it. We are hiring caseworkers every day. We started a digital recruitment campaign. We put people on staff and we train them. And we figure out pretty early if people come in and start this process and we know they're not going to make it, they kind of wash out pretty early. We've added more people. We understand the work. We find the work. And because of the leadership of Rita Osborne, who's recognized statewide from the finest GFS directors in the state, that's just amazing. That's the state of Ohio. And the leadership of Commissioner Zabecki, who actually work here. That's how we're retaining workers, we're recruiting workers, and we're training workers.
Commissioner Gergen, your opponent was quoted in the Toledo Blade saying, what's legal and what's moral are two different things. I loathe politicians who do this, end quote. This refers to the question of what is called double dipping. Okay. Your salary as a commissioner, which the Toledo Blade said is around $115,000, your pension from G at $1,800 a month, and your pension from the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System. Mr. Winooski disagrees with taxpayers paying your salary, as he puts it, on top of the pension you receive. He says, quote, this contributes to the erosion of public trust. It benefits himself instead of taxpayers. The question, what do you want voters to read from how you handle this?
I think it's a complete misorientation. It's a good political talking point. Everybody hates double dipping, but the legislature, the Republican legislature, approved it for reasons to keep experienced people in office. Look, I'm 72 years old. I've worked my entire life. I make no apology to my chief pension. I spent 30 years. I make no apology for taking the Social Security. I think that money. My retirement benefit from the state of Ohio, which means, and Tom knows this, I've contributed into that fund as an employee. It's not a gift. I'm not taking any tax dollars away from anything by accessing a pension that I worked hard to get. I've got grandkids. I've got a wife. I don't know. I'm lucky to be here 72 years like any of us. I don't know if I'll be here 73. I think it's fair and reasonable on a personal level for someone to contribute to this community in 2 or 3 pensions. That just tells you how hard I work. And if I want to access my benefits and take care of my family and still contribute to this community, it doesn't cost our general fund any more money for me to access benefits that I paid into.
Mr. Winooski.
I hope you live to be 103, Pete. I really do. It's just, and the cheap pension, that's something different. I retired, so I get my private sector numbers. But it's when you're taking that $100,000 salary and you're adding another $40,000, $50,000 a year that you get out of that, that's money that could go to the public good or to bring a new set of eyes to how we're running things in the county. So I'm here to tell everybody who's listening, let's retire Pete for sure, November 5th.
That is all the time we have for our questions. We are giving each candidate an opportunity for a closing statement. Mr. Gergen, you started with opening statements. Mr. Winooski, we will start with you for your closing statement. 2 minutes.
I appreciate that. So I wrote this so I would make sure I'm on time, and I want to convey it to you with all sincerity. I think there's a lot that has not gone right under the current leadership of the county commissioners. So everything that's been happening with employees, the buck stops with the leadership. And it's unfortunate that many of these leadership flaws did not come to light until my candidacy. And I'm starting to look at those payouts to the disgruntled employees, cuts in emergency medical service, funds from the workforce development that are not going where it needs to go, mistreating dogs, we talked about this, and the opting out by not saying the Pledge of Allegiance at the commissioners meeting. So I'm going to bring that back. We can bring more funding for services to the county by merely allocating what has been directed for the programs instead of using some Ponzi scheme for putting money toward an overpriced jail. We can attract greater value when our values are not one of confrontation and opaqueness in the commissioner's office. And we can improve our standing in the state with measured, factual communications to restore that local government fund to the area. I read a report today that was assessing a particular federal agency, and this independent report said that this government agency was too bureaucratic, too complacent and too stagnant. That's how I feel the county has become. That's why I want to break the monopoly. And that's the reason why we ran against the top dog and the commissioners, so that we can change things and change it for the better.
Thank you, Mr. Wisniewski. Closing statement. Commissioner, closing statement for your 2 minutes.
I'm not a dog, I'm a community servant. I've been a community service for 30 years. I'm not a dog. I have a dog and it's great, but my record here is what I've accomplished. Look at downtown. Look at the community partnerships that you see in the room today. Let me give you some examples. We like to do the fun stuff like downtown, but we dig in and do the dirty work. Let me talk about the Greenbelt Parkway. 2 years ago, that was the first public housing project in the city of Toledo. My team with the local activists here, we went in there and used our political will to make that community get investment from an out-of-town owner. Right now, there are people being placed in that apartment building who would never do that. We do fun stuff over here, but man, I get my hands dirty and go to work. I walk I'm not going to retire. I'm asking the voters to keep up the progress that I've made. Alex Budgets. I am the champion. When he voted against Lake Erie, I've been the champion for cleaning up Lake Erie since the water crisis in 2015. I managed through the downturn of the financial crisis of 2008 and 9. I managed through the water crisis of 2015. I managed through the pandemic of last year, and now I'm managing through a county that's pretty good, but we have to be careful as we do it. I have a record of accomplishments. I have endorsements from every major labor union that I've asked for. Everyone endorsed me. I have an endorsement from the Chamber of Commerce. I have an endorsement from the Toledo Blade. And mostly, I have an endorsement from people I walk around and meet on the streets. I walk across downtown today like I do every day. And I have people stop and say, Pete, thank you for what you're doing. And I want you to continue to be the leader of the company. That's the satisfaction I get out of my job. Is when people stop you on the street, recognize your work, know what you accomplished, and want to return you to office. I stand ready to serve the residents of Lucas County for 4 more years. I'm not going anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm not getting out early. I'm going to take whatever effects are allowed to me to take legally. And I'm proud to serve you. And I want to serve you for another 4 years. And I ask for your vote on November 6th.
That concludes our debate. We want to give much thanks to Commissioner Pete Griffin and Tom Wisniewski for sharing part of our evening with us. We also want to thank our partners, the Toledo Lucas County Public Library System, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity this evening for its help, and of course our partners at home watching us on WTOL 11+ and our WTOL 11 YouTube page. We want to point you in the direction of what's to come. Our second part of our debate included Commissioner Anita Lopez and challenger John Rosing, to be moderated by my colleague, Kayla Kirby, coming up in just about 20 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the audience. A round of applause again for our challengers.
CL Style. So they read.
I'm loving the studio. Like, as soon as I walked in, I was like, this is it right here. I just got into my element. So I'm loving it. I just really enjoyed listening to Jamil. It was just a great conversation. I mean, this is good. So I'm like, okay, this is. Maybe we'll see after today. We'll see how tonight pans out. Yeah. We'll see.